6:30, and we'll open the meeting. This meeting, as usual, is being broadcast live, I think. Yes, it is, and digitally recorded. So we've got a very limited agenda tonight, but we're still going to start where we always start, which is open session, to see whether or not anyone, prior to getting to the agenda items, has anything they want to bring up during open session. Anyone? No? Okay. All right. Want to get us started here, Ryan?
To Mike.
Sure. So we are here to discuss the Class 2 license for John's Auto. This is the only agenda item. So at the last meeting, you asked me to investigate a potential law violation, General Law 140-69, which council did weigh in on, and I sent to you.
Yep.
And then yesterday we met with John and Rich, our building inspector, to go over the proposed concealment, which is part of the special permit, the last part. Storage repairs of all equipment and vehicles to be screened from general public view by attractive fences or plantings. So John had Rich look over the plan, and Rich found that so John's plan, if you want to present it, or me,
Yes.
would be as follows.
Come on up, Joe.
I just want to start with thanking you guys to take your time to host this meeting. I really appreciate it. So, it's pretty much the same plan that we had discussed, but we were always stuck on this height issue. It's not a very fancy drawing, but I'm not an architect, but I think you'll understand what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
So pretty much what we're talking about
You want to do the drawing for your dad next time, maybe?
is pretty much there in that open area beside the house. And that is what I think everybody was happy with. When Larry came down, he asked me not to proceed, as we had discussed, until we had decided on the height. So at the last meeting, it seemed to be that I should just pretty much decide that and see if that would be sufficient.
Okay.
So the building inspector said that the 5-foot fence was the standard, and anything over that would require a permit, and I told him that that would not be a tall enough fence to do what it was supposed to do. He said, well, how tall is it supposed to be? And I said, really, that's the question I've been asking. So yesterday I just went to work and put up pretty much what I am going to propose. And the building inspector will grant me a permit for whatever I ask him for. The only thing is that what I have a picture of here is only difference is that the gate is a tad smaller than what I want. I measured it there, not 25 feet. The gate that I have in place is just a little smaller because I just know. Let me see. Are you telling me that I'm not connected with the internet and all my pictures went away?
Maybe.
I'm not telling you that.
They were all up. I was all ready. Well, anyhow, it is pretty much, you could just pass it around. You know pretty much what I'm
Start with you?
Yeah, I drove by today. It was all set up. Is this?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's not
Looked
really
good.
set up. I just took the gate, I hung it up so it pretty much stands at 8 feet. That's all I pretty much could do. So this is what I'm proposing. Only difference is the gate. This one is I think 18. The other one I wanted to have 25, just so it has a large enough opening.
With the arborvitae's next to it,
Yes.
with the trees.
Yeah, what I'll just do, I'll just take one of those stones out and extend the gate. I would assume that this would be satisfactory. This is sort of what I had in plan to begin with, but after Larry's visit, he had asked me to have the officials tell me what to do, but that seems not to be possible, so this is what I propose to do. So building inspector said yesterday that whatever I needed to do, he would give me a permit for.
Rich
Don't-
said he would approve the fence. The fence
Yeah,
permit
that's
to-
that's what I'm trying to say.
at a particular height. He didn't comment on whether or not that satisfied the needs of the special permit to screen, but when John raised his hands and said this at 8 feet, looked from the road, the only thing you could see over the hands was the 2 trailers, the registered trailers that are in the back, so it did screen the area, and Rich felt that was in compliance, but his particular area here is to approve the fence.
Yeah, and honestly, a fence over 8 feet is pretty hard to maintain because of the wind load and everything else. I mean, 8 foot's fairly standard.
So, Mr. Chairman, before we enact any vote on this, can I read the opinion from the lawyer regarding this?
Of course.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I did see it, and Mr. Bracco had suggested that we were in violation of state law and could be possibly thrown in prison for that. So I just wanted to read the response from our attorneys to the public and also to Mr. Bracco, who I see is here. So it says, this is addressed to Ryan McLean, our town administrator, from Brian Riley, who's from Coltman and Page. It says, Ryan, Carolyn asked me to review your question below and get back to you. And the question dealt with Mr. Bracco's assertion that we belong in jail for what we've done.
Michael, that's not true. I never said that.
In my opinion, the Board of Selectmen does not face any penalty under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 69. That statute only refers to potential criminal penalties if an individual violates these statutes. In other words, the violations that Chapter 69 refers to are violations committed by the person selling the vehicles, not the licensing board. Section 69 provides potential criminal penalties for violations of Chapter 140, subsection 57 through 68. These sections prohibit such conduct as selling motor vehicles without a license or in violation of the terms of the license, operation in violation of regulations of the Registry of Motor Vehicles, failing to maintain proper records of sales, and refusing to allow authorized state or local officials to inspect the licensed premises. These sections clearly do not provide for penalties against the licensing board. In my further opinion, the Board of Selectmen has the authority and discretion to extend the Class II license of AAA Today, LLC, as you have described. In fact, as a general rule, it is not recommended that one licensing board deny or condition one kind of license with regard to a different regulatory area that said board has no jurisdiction over. This is based on a Supreme Judicial Court decision concerning alcoholic beverages licensing. In Ward v. Situate, 334 Mass 1, 1956, the Board of Selectmen refused to accept the plaintiff's liquor license application because the board felt the location would have been prohibited by zoning from operating the proposed inn. The SJC ruled that the board was required to accept the liquor license application, which under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, also triggers an obligation to call a hearing and act on the application, because while the board can deny an application for matters under Chapter 138, the board has no jurisdiction over zoning and cannot deny the license based on its opinion that zoning relief is required. The SJC also pointed to the applicant's right to appeal any denial or failure to act on an application to the ABCC. The ABCC similarly requires decisions to be based only on Chapter 138 issues. Applying this decision to the issue at hand, in my opinion, the zoning enforcement officer has jurisdiction over alleged violations of a zoning permit, and the Board of Selectmen is best advised to make decisions as to the Class II license on matters related to Chapter 140 and regulations of the RMV only.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the question I asked was, does the board face liability based on the attached legal reference? They vote to extend the Class II license in order to further investigate and perhaps resolve the violations of the special permit.
Okay. So, all right, I'm glad this is resolved. So thanks for following it up. I think in probably the most direct and responsible way we could have, as far as, to be honest, and I sort of felt that way when I read it the first way. The way it's
beginning.
worded has the implication that it's the operator, versus the license board. So I wasn't all that surprised to sort of see it like that. But anyway, okay, so we'll just carry on with this now. So we are here, and there's a lot of still. I think it needs to be stated. I think Jan needs it to be stated if it's something that's to be stated. That when this to be approved higher fence, which is one issue. Okay, so that is approved by the building inspector to actually be installed in the first place. Okay, so that's one. And then the second is, what is the mechanism for the confirmation that the final condition of the special permit is in compliance once the fence is out there? Did you guys talk about how that was actually gonna happen?
So we talked about and had a copy of the special permit. Rich said that he felt that with the screening that he would be within the writing of to be screened from general public view by attractive fences or plantings.
So is there something he has to generate, some document he has to generate, if that's?
He can, and we talked to John about this, he is willing to write that he will do the permit for the fence, but in terms of being in compliance with he cannot speak for the issuer of the special permit. So they have the right to open or close the special permit and have further hearings. But in terms of his belief, they did feel that he was in compliance today.
Okay.
Also, we talked about the fact that we had not been in compliance for a long time, and that needed to be acknowledged. And I talked to Jan about that and what that might mean.
Yeah, no, and that's come up many times, throughout the course of this, and I there's nothing in my world that absolves responsibility that's relative to all that, but we still, I think, decided a while ago we've got to get to a point where we've got to chip away at issues. You know what I mean? We've got to just sort of get our hands around what was at hand, and this was the special permit at the compliance with all the special conditions. So it feels to me like we're there.
And I can only speak to, and this, I don't know if this even involves John, but just general enforcement. We need to commit to stronger enforcement of current zoning bylaws so that it doesn't get to this point.
Right.
And that's, I think, part of the problem. But to send a message that the zoning does matter and it is part of it and is voted on in town meeting, etc. So I talked to Vin a lot. He's not here, so I don't want to
Sure.
speak directly, but talked about just enforcement in general is something that needs to be done. So I'm including that in our discussion about the future of the building department and what we need from a zoning enforcement officer. And I also talked to Jan about, and if you want to speak to it, about acknowledging the fact that this has been in violation and as proof that we're going to move forward from here. So it's kind of my piece of it, and my hope is that I can learn from this particular issue and incorporate it into the future. But speaking to the past, I can't, and neither would Rich, really.
Sure.
So my question is, the picture I showed you, would you consider that be screening from public view?
Me, I would. I don't know if
Yeah.
my opinion matters, but I absolutely would. And from the picture that you just showed there with all the arborvitae's next to this gate, that's
I mean, it's hanging there, you can drive by the place.
I don't have the
I mean,
dictionary
it's all there.
definition. Looks like it to me.
I'll take that gate down, because it's just hanging there. I just wanted to have it.
Yeah, it's a good
So
idea.
I could actually just show it
Yeah.
and ask, is this good enough?
Yeah, sure. I got you. It is to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks good to me.
Then I will get a permit for that gate.
Okay.
I don't apparently need any permits for plants.
Okay.
So pretty much I'm putting up a gate and plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I will have it up there very shortly. You see what I did this night? So in a few days I should be able to get this taken care of.
After pulling the application and submitting the permit request and that sort of stuff.
Yes, I do not think that, I think he only does one day, I saw on the door today, so that's Wednesdays,
Okay.
but I can dig holes.
Yeah, sure.
So then that means we're here now for the purpose of extending, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Which we didn't discuss yet how far to extend
We were
that. to.
talking August, the end of August.
Oh, that's right, because to give enough time to actually install it, which is gonna be done in a week or two anyway, it sounds
Yeah.
like it's still. Yeah, I think that's good. End of August, we've been sort of picking it that way, August 31st?
But so here's my question. So according to what we just read from the lawyer says that based on the Supreme Court ruling, we should make the decision on the dealership license independent of special
True.
permit things.
Okay.
I mean, that's, so I'm done, I would read that last sentence again. Applying this decision to the issue at hand, my opinion is the zoning enforcement officer has jurisdiction over alleged violations of a zoning permit and the Board of Selectmen is best advised to make decisions as to the Class 2 license on matters related to Chapter 140 and regulations of the RMV.
I think we're doing that still.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason we have this other meeting here is because we had this thing thrown in front of us, and we had to sort of figure it out before we went any further. So I think we're there. I think this is a parallel issue.
Well, it is, but I agree 100%, but should, based on this, should we just approve the only thing we're approving is his license?
Correct.
And do you want to approve it fully or just do August? I mean, if we, another extension, or we,
When is fully? I guess I don't even know because it's like fiscal year, right? So we have, it's
it would be approved, when would it be approved? Is it fiscal year or calendar year on
Yeah.
these?
We would be relicensing at some point. But my suggestion would be to, I'd have to look at
I hear what you're saying. I
Yeah.
just don't know. Right. Those are annual appointments we do, right?
It's January first.
January
January 1st, right, so we'd approve it through January 1st.
Sounds good. I think that makes sense to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Make it easier for 'em.
Through December 31st, I guess we'll say.
Alright, so I'll make a motion to approve the, Class 2 license for, AAA today through December 31st, 2018.
Second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, whom do I contact when this is done? The building inspector again to have him,
Yeah. I think, can you be the point on that?
You'll apply for the permit, put the fence up based off the permit, and then we'll have Rich inspect it.
So I guess just one other thing that needs to be said, and Michael sort of alluded to it, and so did Ryan, and as our responsibility, especially for something that, you know, has been around for so long now, right? So obviously there's gonna be just reality, there's gonna be, some scrutiny on how things move forward, right? So, you know, I think we have to be pretty clear with ourselves that, you know, and this has nothing to do with singling you out. This has to do with sort of our whole enforcement scheme in town to be vigilant ourselves, our responsibility to take people and make people accountable, okay? So, I mean, that's just, I think that's the way we have to tone things, and that's all I got. Okay?
thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
So we've gone through item 2. And I guess I'll just throw it out there if anyone has any public or press issues they want to bring up. Tom?
I need a clarification. Was it a 18-foot wide gate or a 25-foot wide?
He has to sort of remeasure. It's not 25. It's smaller than that. It's somewhere in that range. So I'm not exactly sure I'm not sure why that really matters though.
And, well, because I think where there is a gate, there is not a screen.
No, it's a solid gate.
Yeah.
It's not an open
Okay,
gate.
I
It'll,
didn't see the picture.
it'll
That's
be,
great.
yeah, it's a solid
Okay.
gate.
And there was blockage on each side of the edge. So that's the only reason why I said it doesn't really matter. You're right. You didn't see the
Right.
picture, but the picture showed.
Excuse me?
Yeah, sure.
That's okay, I believe you.
Okay.
But the bigger issue that all of you have spoken of regarding enforcement, I'd love to see some commitment tonight to review the 2013-14 Enforcement Committee's recommendations. They were pretty broad, but there's a couple nuggets in there that I think are pretty good.
Yeah, I think I wrote it.
You were certainly on the committee.
I wrote
as
it.
was Mr. Williams, Mr. Vince Ritchie, and
Peter Jeffs. Yeah.
Peter Jeffs and a couple other people that contributed, that weren't necessarily on the committee. But if something could be done in terms of a commitment, I think it could be addressed well at the fall. What we usually have is a fall town meeting. If any kind of bylaw or regulation or something had to be passed, it could be passed then. If we got to work now and work in the next 60, 90, 120 days, if you could authorize Ryan to, perhaps he needs some money, perhaps he needs to spend some time and write job descriptions and whatnot for the incoming BI with a focus on enforcement, if that's chosen that he's the enforcement officer, or it was in that report, there was an opportunity to use a neighboring town's enforcement officer, like Gardner's. I think.
We already have that. So this is, sorry to interrupt there, but I can add to this. So
Please, yeah, take me where you're gonna go.
So I,
and
from Anita to Rayanne to Brian to Ryan, it has been something that has come up periodically as we've sort of slowly tried to chip away towards when we realized we couldn't afford to do it ourselves. There wasn't enough to do it ourselves, and we needed to find a friend like Gardner. but we needed to have the ability to. We can cite anybody we want.
It was a ticket
We
system.
can cite, but then we have to give them the possibility for a hearing. So it was all about how to find a hearing officer, because we weren't going to have one hearing officer in town, and you have to have certain special training and all that. So I'm not sure if you've been involved in this at all yet.
I've seen it and talked.
Okay, so you've seen it. So yes, I've always wanted to sort of advance this, and that's something that we will continue to do, which is try to find that relationship with a certain amount of money it's going to cost, obviously, because we have to pay for our portion of Hubbardston residents that go to that hearing officer for the enforcement hearings. So it's always so hard to get anything done, and then what furthers it is that the reason that this subcommittee that I was on, the junk bylaw committee we called, if you recall, was because there was going to be a bylaw and it was one of the most contentious bylaw town meetings there's ever been, with people completely against it, because it was going to cause, people who have a lot of stuff on their property to have a lot of citations. So it was a I don't know if anyone else was at that town meeting. You're at that town meeting, man. So we already sort of tried. So not that we're going to give up, but it definitely has to be rethought on how it's presented, because it was stiff opposition.
There was also an issue about people who had collector cars and
Cars.
didn't have them registered.
Yeah.
So then they become more than 2 unregistered vehicles, so therefore they'd be in violation.
Right. So that's the
There's a
point, is
lot
that
going on.
we had like a broad, sweeping enactment is what it would have done, and that's the wrong words probably. But overall, I that's just to reiterate that I think we have to be a lot more specific in what it's going to include. And that, to your point there about Ryan sort of working on that, and I don't know,
The sort of working on it is the hard part.
it's tough. I hear you.
This is a very capable gentleman, and I think if you I mean it, if you made a motion or did something to endorse his effort, and get something ready for the fall town meeting, it'd be great.
Yeah, Tom.
I just,
Sorry.
while we're still on the air, we have a public hearing tonight on the marijuana bylaw and the change to the marijuana bylaw and the solar bylaw at 7 o'clock, so still time for people to get down here and come if they want.
Okay.
Really important.
I'm going.
Okay.
Come on down.
Go ahead.
I know that everybody who has spoken about the Memorial Day Parade and Memorial Day festivities that happen afterwards may have also heard that Tom Collier has been talking about potentially retiring. I would like to bring that to the Select Board's attention. He has been an amazing contributor, not only to the town in general, but in terms of the Memorial Day Parade. I think it would be appropriate to start thinking about how do we recognize an individual such as Tom, the work that he has done for this community and continues to do, not only as a individual but also as a facilitator. I'm just trying to plant a seed in this in this group about things that you may want to start thinking about. How do you recognize an individual like that? Because I think he's getting to the point where he has a lot of things on his plate, and some things are going to have to be transitioned to somebody else. And
Tom, we reject your resignation. That's what we're going to do.
I think he
Nice.
at some point in time will basically say that's enough, and
Yeah.
he needs to
Yeah,
pass
understood.
the baton over.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, especially going with the high note that this event went this year.
Okay, thank you. Well
Could
said.
be a candidate
Okay.
for the annual town report.
Yep. No.
Absolutely.
Or more,
Yeah.
So we'll think of something.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I don't think you should close tonight without saying a big thank you.
I think we just did, but obviously unfortunately I had commitments, wasn't able to be there, but you were there?
I was there, yeah. It was actually well attended, I
Yes.
thought.
Amazingly attended.
Extremely, yeah.
And the new veterans, he had one heck of a speech to say. It was very good.
I've been to dozens.
Even my oldest son was there, who was 18, and his friends, and they actually listened to word for word of that and had something to say about it afterwards, which is, I think, very impressive.
Absolutely.
And
I think it- I think
Tom
it-
also complimented Claudia for her work in terms of getting,
Yeah.
it was the largest veterans turnout we've ever had, you know, and
I'm not saying that Tom does this all by himself. He absolutely has a huge.
He certainly puts a lot into
people
it.
who, I'm just bringing his name up because again, he's been there for quite a number of years. He is trying to pass the baton and recognizing what he's trying to say. I think we need to start also recognizing that there comes a point in time where we also have to appreciate what he has done and do so in a manner that he sees the love that the city or the town has for him and appreciates what he has done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody have anything else? Open session? No? Okay.
Motion to adjourn, it's 6:54.
I'll second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All right, thanks everyone.
which one?
The main one, the power.
Electrical out.